So last week I got a job interview at McDonald's, but it didn't end up going too well. I didn't get a call. I guess it just wasn't what they're looking for or something.
Before the boys in Nelk would clock in hundreds of millions of views with viral classics including Coke prank on cops, pretending to be a McDonald's employee, spoiling Avengers Endgame, rejecting Instagram models at Coachella and more.
6.9K. You gotta have at least 10K to get in.
Before the boys in Nelk would add Steve Will Do It to the mix and make the move to Hollywood, living with FaZe Banks and Bradley Martin.
Boys, what are you watching? I got a surprise. Turn this off.
Before the boys would part ways with 905 Shooter and have fallen comrades, including Lucas and twins Nico and Marco.
I have nothing bad to say about them at all. They're actually great guys. But basically what happened is just like, when we got back, it was kind of more of like a falling out. So
before Nelk would surpass 4 million subscribers on YouTube, 2.5 billion on Instagram, 250,000 on Twitter, and despite YouTube's best efforts to shut them down, well, they would continue to be a dominant force on the platform.
There we go.
cheers to 1 million, bud.
1 million.
Alright, some of you guys might be experiencing a little bit of deja vu, but the boys of Nelk, well, they've come a long way since we last took a shot at documenting their come up way back in 2017. Things looked a whole lot different then, and I ain't talking about the members that have left. They've also added Steve Will Do It, and I was able to dig up some old footage on that guy.
This is Steven D about to do the cinnamon challenge. It may fail, we're not sure yet.
Now Kyle and Jesse are a pair of local legends here in Toronto, and I've been fortunate enough to attend a few of the events that they've thrown in the six. They actually did a food drive in December, so I was there, I chipped in. Historically, it's been hard for Canadian entertainers to find fame and fortune here in the Great White North. Most acts, they need to head south of the border to do that. And when Nelk was running out of places to film in Canada, well, they were basically left without any other options.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to we literally can't film in Ontario. Maybe I think Canada is just, we're too popular. Canadian fans just rep us so hard. Everyone knows us in Ontario now, so it's fucking ridiculous.
Through relentless years of grinding from a relatively unknown channel to then getting rinsed by the CPM and nearly having their entire channel shut down by YouTube, well, the boys, they've certainly overcome a lot. Now, it was all worth it though, as they've become the most popular prank and college culture channel on the internet, and they've built a brand known the world over. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Michael McCrudden, documenting the life and career of Nelk and Steve Will Do It prior to fame. Here for you, of course, on Before They Are Famous. This is an updated video. Now, we recently dropped a Where Are They Now on 905 Shooter. It was an interview, and that video picked up some serious views. In fact, I actually saw that the boys were watching the video online. Small world, this internet. Now, if you watch the original video, some of this may sound like a repeat, but I have dug up a whole bunch of new information, plus they've added members, they've lost members, so there's a lot to update you on. I'm also happy this isn't a Before They Were Gone video, because if anyone was gonna catch the coronavirus, I think it would have been the boys of Nelk. All right, let's get into this video. Hey, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell. Boom! First, let's kick things off with Kyle Forgeard, who was born on July 12, 1994 in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, and he grew up in an area known as Meadowvale. Now, he still couldn't dig up a ton of info from his early years or about his family, but I did find a video from 2014 which features both his mom and his dad, and this was titled Fake House Prank on Mom and Dad.
Just look at the camera. You just got pranked so hard.
Now, in a photo with his dad, the caption reads, "We've come so far and we're nowhere near done. Our dads still think we're morons though." Now, Kyle's been making videos since he was a little kid. He was a director, an editor, and a filmmaker, all doing it just for fun. He was also a huge fan of other people blowing up on YouTube, including Vitaly and Jimmy Tatro. Tatro? I don't know. Those were some of his early favorites. Now, the oldest video I could find from Kyle was in 2011, and it was a short-lived series titled What the Moments. Now, this has since been deleted off of YouTube, so if you want to see that magic, you'll have to watch our original Before They Were Famous video. Now, Kyle, he attended Lady of Mount Carmel Secondary School, where he first met Jason, aka 905 Shooter. He got started on the Nelk Films YouTube channel as far back as 2010, working with his buddy Lucas and the twins Nico and Marco. Now, some early gems, they included Tim Hortons' roll up the rim prank, pretending to be a McDonald's employee prank, and then he hit gold with his serenading old people in public video, which clocked in 300,000 views.
I'll be better when I'm older.
Now, Kyle decided to take his show on the road, hitting up universities surrounding Toronto. He traveled to Waterloo, Hamilton, Guelph, and he even showed up at a city council meeting trying to serenade the Mississauga mayor. Kyle's stunts quickly caught the attention of mainstream media, with Kyle getting interviewed by Canadian news channels. Next up, we got Jesse Sebastiani, who was born on June 27th, 1993, in good old Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Now, unlike Kyle, Jesse, he loves the old throwback photo, and he's posted a bunch. There's this. I also found a picture of his mom. Now, his dad, MTV Pat, well, that guy needs little introduction. I think you already know him.
I normally don't smoke darts in the house, but when I do, they use my full-size ashtray.
His dad is a beaut. He actually needs his own before they're famous. Hit that like button if you want to see that. Now, at the age of 2, his parents divorced, and then he moved to small town Shelburne, Ontario. Population just 8,000 people. Now, Jesse has a fraternal twin brother named Jacob, who is a snowboard instructor out in BC. He also has an older sister, Sarah, who works on cruise ships traveling the world. Now, in Shelburne, Jesse, he grew up on a farm, and being in a small town, well, it offered him all the freedom he could ever imagine. He grew up ripping dirt bikes, skateboarding, snowboarding, and getting into trouble. He first got into filmmaking videos with his buddies when he was only 12 years old, and he jump-started his own YouTube channel way back in 2012.
Hello. I am not in focus. Not one bit. Nope. Checking the water. Alright.
Jesse's old man Pat, he worked at the steel company Dofasco in Hamilton, and his mom Robin, she was between jobs throughout most of Jesse's youth. Now, him and his siblings, they didn't have much, so he was always looking for ways to make a few bucks. Now, his first job ever, it was working at a hay farm. He then worked at a scrapyard and later at a grocery store.
So I'm working the late shift at No Frills. I was 15, I was just bored as shit, want to hang out with my friends.
He worked a ton of different jobs, including out in Alberta in the oil fields and in restaurants as a bartender. Now, he was always a pretty entrepreneurial type of dude. He set up his own clothing line at the age of just 12. It was known as Dallas. Now, young Jesse, he had a few idols growing up, including Eric Costin, Grant Patterson, and Ryan Sheckler. You know, all pro skateboarders. Now, on the artsy side, Jesse, he's a longtime fan of Spike Jonze and the boys at Jackass. Now, he didn't care too much for school. He liked art class and the social aspect, but he almost flunked out of high school. He did make it to prom, though, and he had a nice little filly on his arm. Now, Jesse never opted to go to university or college, but instead focused more on making videos with his friends Dalton and Aiden, and soon enough, the boys, they landed a deal with MTV Canada.
And we got a season called Careless Teens on MTV. So I don't know if you guys have seen it. It was like that show that they just overly played, and like they still play it, I think, on Thursday nights. Yeah, that's my MTV show.
Now, the first time I did Jesse's bio, I didn't find this travel doc that he had starred in and also produced. It's titled Saved by the Status. The description reads, "Confused, broke, no vehicle, no career, no life. This is when the idea to use social media as a handle to travel across all of Canada east to west." Now, I think he entered this into some indie contests. He also had a GoFundMe set up for its release, but good for him. The kid was really hustling. Kyle and Jesse first met in 2014 after a fan introduced them, and they made plans to film a prank video together for the Nelk channel, which at the time boasted 25,000 subscribers. The first video that they filmed together was titled Lit Me on Fire Prank. Still not making much money, the boys, they pressed forward. Now, eventually, the twins, they would stop appearing on the show, and the existing team, well, they would post a video about them not pulling their weight. Now, if you ask me, they probably realized that them dudes, they look too much like the Property Brothers, and it wasn't a good look. Now, maybe we get them to come in here and do a Where Are They Now on them. Who wants that? Let me know. Now, soon 905 Shooter, he was added to the mix initially as a photographer, but he would become more frequent of a personality on the channel. Then, just as things were ramping up, well, Lucas, he decided to drop out to pursue more practical work in the trades. Previous to this, the crew, they took a trip to LA for 4 months, which changed everything for them. They went viral with their 7 ways to compliment boobs video.
These are sick.
Check it out,
Are these real?
Yeah, Indonesia.
Their next banger would be their Coke prank on cops video, which today boasts over 34 million views. Now, while in LA, they even got invited to one of P. Diddy's kids' birthday bashes, and there they were rubbing shoulders with the likes of Justin Bieber, Travis Scott, Kendall Jenner, Khloe Kardashian, A$AP Rocky, and more. Now, in 2017, the channel, it climbed from a couple million views a month to a whopping 20 million views per month. It also surpassed the 1 million subscriber mark, and the boys, well, they were getting hounded in Canada, and they were having a hard time pulling off the pranks that the rabid fan base were expecting them to post. They basically had nowhere to film.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to we literally can't film in Ontario. Maybe every I think Canada is just we're too popular. Canadian fans just rep us so hard. Everyone knows us in Ontario now, so it's fucking ridiculous.
So when the boys could afford it, they would pack up all their gear and hit the road. And that led us to the introduction of the newest member. We gotta talk about Steve Will Do It. Now it's hard to track Steve's come up story because a lot of his earlier posts, they've since been deleted. It turns out he was underage when he first started going viral with his drinking videos. He was also charged with possession of marijuana and driving with a suspended license around 2017. But he always liked to enjoy the good meal on camera. From what I can see, that's who he was. Steve Will Do It was born Stephen DeLeonardis. He was born on August 26, 1998 in small town Oviedo, Florida, not far from Orlando. Now it appears he has a brother named Max. I don't know if they're brothers, they got a similar nose. Now the healthiest man in the world, he used to be a professional bodybuilder and he would get super jacked and tanned and then go on stage for competitions. Now the story goes, correct me if I'm wrong, well Kyle, he saw some of his eating and drinking videos on Instagram, so he hit up Steve in the DMs. Back then, Steve, he wasn't a big deal, but well Kyle, he saw the potential.
You want a beer? Yeah. Cheers, buddy.
From there, the boys met up and they got to work. By 2018, he was joining the boys on camera full-time. In recent years, the Nelk Boys, they've gone global, traveling the world, visiting the countries that will allow them entry. Now they've made the move to LA and they're killing it in the world of merch. They've also managed to not catch the coronavirus, even though they've pounded back enough Ronas to kill the average man. Now, if you haven't watched our Where Are They Now video on 905 Shooter, well, we suggest you do that. We will leave a link down below or around me right now. But as for the rest of the story, I'm gonna wrap this one up here. Of course, this is before they're famous. Before Steve Will Do It would join forces with the boys of Nelk and start kicking it with the likes of Bradley Martin, FaZe Rug, David Dobrik, Machine Gun Kelly, Dan Bilzerian, Riley Reid, and Bradley Martin's dog. Before Steve Will Do It would clock in 1.8 million followers on Instagram and break a record, being one of the fastest channels to climb to 1 million subscribers.
I'm calling it right now. Steve is gonna be the fastest growing channel on YouTube. No one's doing it like Steve.
Let's go.
Than us, Steven. Let's go.
Let's go.
Before Steve Will Do It would get into some DM discussions with Demi Lovato.
As well, I thought I was a pro too. She thought she was a pro heroin user. Look how that turned out. Ha 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 ha. I just wanted to reach out because it can happen when you least expect it. Be careful and thank you for not taking this wrong way. All love.
Now, just last week, we dropped an updated video on the boys at Nelk, and it didn't take long for Steve's brother to hit me up in the DMs with some new information. Now, he also told me that I butchered the family name. How embarrassing. Steve Will Do It was born Stephen DeLeonardis. He was born on August 26, 1998 in small town Oviedo, Florida, not far from Orlando. Now, it appears he has a brother named Max. I don't know if they're brothers, they got a similar nose. Now, according to his brother Rocco, I was right about the nose. Apparently, it runs in the family. But that dude Max, that's his cousin, not his brother. Now, it's been a wild come up for Steve Will Do It. As recent as 2018, Steve, he was sitting on 50,000 followers on Instagram, but that don't mean he hadn't been putting in the work for some time. Now, there exists old videos from 2013 which feature a young Steve collaborating with another YouTuber by the name of Shoe Nice, and this was a Whopper eat-off competition. Now, Steve got slaughtered in this early eat-off, but it was the starting of him figuring out what kind of content would work best for him for his small growing audience on Instagram at the time. Now, after a brief stint as a competitive bodybuilder, well, his life took a crazy and unexpected change when one of his drinking videos caught the attention of Kyle from Nelk. Now, the two, they talked in the DMs, and next thing you know, well, he was joining the boys of Nelk as they took over the world. Like, literally. See what they did out in Italy? Nuts. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Michael McCrudden taking a deeper dive into the come-up story of Steve Will Do It. Here for you, of course, on Before They're Famous. Now, in our last video, we suggested a video on MTV Pat, and I've had someone from our team reach out to him, so hopefully we can get that done for you later this week. Now, the boys, they're making big moves in Hollywood, so kudos to them, and they've actually got a new house. My girlfriend Kara, she took a crack at doing a house tour for the boys at Nelk, and we'll be posting that on our second channel. I'll leave a link down below. Actually, we'll roll a clip at the end of this video. All right, now let's get into Steve Will Do It. That sounded weird. Steve Will Do It was was born Stephen De Leonardis. Now just to make sure I'm saying this correctly.
De Leonardis.
Now he was born on August 26, 1998. Now according to Steve's brother Rocco, well Steve's middle name is also Rocco. So I guess his dad, he just really likes that name. Now he's got a little sister named Brianna and as I mentioned, an older brother Rocco. Now the family, they have a pair of pit bulls named Warren and Jack who share an Instagram page under the handle Warren Will Do It. And the dogs ain't doing bad. Like together they got 13,000 followers. Pretty cool. Now there's also his cousin Max, who we spoke about in the last video, who is the son of Steve's dad's twin brother. Shout out to Max. Now Rocco told me that big sniffers, they run in the family. And based on the family's surname,
De Leonardis,
one would presume that the family is of Italian descent. Also, it would make sense because Steve, well that guy, he likes his giant pizzas. Now he grew up in the small town of Oviedo, Florida, just outside of Orlando, which has been ranked by several publications as one of the best places to live in the US. Now his brother Rocco, he currently works at Direct Wholesale Auto in Orlando, and it looks like a pretty banging place. They got some really good deals. There's like, you get a whole new car for like $4 grand. It also looks like he sold his brother a nice little whip as of recent. Now way back in 2017, his brother Rocco, he had some kind of run-in with the law. But we're talking about some good old Florida boys, so I'm gonna assume that's pretty normal from them parts. Like they weren't on bath salts, so it's a good day. Now that same year, Steve, he also picked up some charges himself for possession of marijuana, drug possession, and driving with a suspended license. Now he would be only 18 or 19 at the time, and he picked himself up this beauty of a mugshot. Now prior to getting mixed up with the police, it's evident that a young Steve, he wanted to be an online entertainer, and he filmed a video of him competing in the Cinnamon Challenge. Next up was his meetup with Shoe Nice in Daytona Beach. This was in 2013, and the two challenged one another to a Whopper eat-off. This is actually my first time hearing about Shoe Nice, but he's described as the man who will eat anything for fame. Now in the years since, he's become a pretty big fan of Steve Will Do It. He's even taken a bite out of him. Kinda.
Hey everyone, Shoe Nice again. The next person I'm eating is Stephen De Leonardis. One of them's gotta be right.
I'm actually happy to hear that Shoe Nice, he doesn't know how to say his last name either.
De Leonardis.
Now if you want it before they're famous on Shoe Nice, let me know in the comments down below. Now it appears that the healthiest man on earth, he got big into fitness during his high school years. The guy even entered himself into a bodybuilding competition. Now the oldest video that exists on Steve's Instagram account is a video of him attempting to eat 100 Wendy's nuggets. Unfortunately, he only ate 84, but he did it in 10 minutes. Then his tummy told him he had to call it quits.
Let's get it.
1, 2,
shoot for 5
3,
minutes.
go.
Holy shit.
Drink liquids last. That fills you up. Or dunk your nuggets. Like you know, like the hot dog people dunk their shit in water. What nugget's that?
A lot of notice.
Already give him full?
Yeah.
Next up was a bottle of hot sauce, which he chugged with no hands.
It's like I'm about to.
Alright,
No, I'm not trying. All right.
1, 2, get it.
3, 2, 1, shoot nice. Texas Pete hot sauce.
Now some of his more popular videos were him doing bong hits, also him chugging beers and bottles of booze, but for some reason them videos they kept getting deleted. Now we would find out soon enough that he was posting these videos while underage. And over on Instagram, while on a trip to the UK, he posted the following. My 21st birthday is Monday. Crazy to think I started my following making underage drinking videos on probation. Praise be to the liquor. I smell Ascent Storm Brewing. Now the first appearance on the Nelk channel that I could find, it happened in October of 2018 when the boys they paid a trip to UCLA. And from there, while Steve will do its Instagram, it ballooned up to 200,000 followers.
Everybody who lives in the to test every single, we're not going to test all 7.4 million. So if I, for example, this is the same.
Yo, do you want one? Do you want a beer? Yeah. Cheers, buddy.
They should be rated 6. So like slightly younger girls, if they watch this aggressive model, they're going to show participants that's a problem, what else is a problem? Yeah. I Googled private school girls. So, and if you did that, it's very hard to say that all children everywhere behave. That it doesn't apply to the rest of the kids in the world, but university, you get assigned to one group and half were assigned to the other. Every person in the population, in the whole entire population that you want to study, so every 3 and 6-year-old.
Honestly, I'm way too sauced for this. I'm dropping out. This conversation's killing me. I'm dropping out. There's no chance I'm having kids too anyway, so.
From there on out, he's been an unofficial member of the crew and he made the move full-time to LA. Now he hasn't been allowed access into Canada, but he has toured with the boys to Europe. Now he has kickstarted his own YouTube channel, and although it quickly received a few strikes and was temporarily set to private, well, he's still posting content on there each week. And every video, it clocks in over 1 million views. Now it appears the boys, they've also gotten themselves a house out in LA. And my girlfriend Kara, well, she does house tours on her second channel. So let's roll a clip of her talking about their new pad.
According to Instagram, the Nelk Boys moved into a new Los Angeles mansion just last month. And of course, they're calling it the Full Send House.
Boys! Let's go! Full Send House, baby!
Clearly, they're already enjoying the mansion and throwing house parties with hot chicks. They've mostly only shown off the outside of the house on social media and the pool, which is huge, but online sources have shown the listing photos, and we can see what the interior looks like a bit.
Alright, for Kara's full video, you can check out our second channel. It's titled Famous Entertainment. Be sure to subscribe to that one. If you're new here, subscribe to this one. If you haven't subscribed to Steve Will Do It, be sure you do that as well. And as for the rest of the story, well, I'm going to wrap this one up here because this is before they're famous. Before Salim the Dream would create an Instagram account that would transform him into one of the biggest pranksters in the world.
Hey bro, so what happened, man? So they drove you all the way out here, man, and then what are they saying now? They're tripping because they're at full capacity?
But yeah, something like that. Guess we're not cool.
Before Salim the Dream would hook up with the Nelk Boys to become a recurring member of the cast, pulling pranks on anyone and everyone, including the Sasquatch Hunter. Before Salim the Dream would clock in 120,000 subscribers on YouTube, over 58,000 followers on Twitter, and 2 million followers on Instagram at the time of this recording. Now trying to make it as a solo internet prankster circa 2020, well, it's a pretty tough market to crack into. Now in fact, Salim, he was actually sleeping in his car before he was able to team up with some of the best to ever do it. Of course, I'm talking about the boys in Nelk.
That's the sneezer right there. Walks around sneezing on people and they won't wipe. Wants to wipe it on your shirt.
2 sneezers.
Can I use your shirt?
But before he ever became a recurring member of the Full Send crew, well, Salim, he was a young man growing up in California, living in San Jose and later Sacramento. And there, well, he terrorized a few of the locals with prank videos while he was still a freshman in high school.
You were here for like 30 minutes, man.
30 minutes? Oh, we just got here.
It's 30 minutes. In my book, it's 30 minutes.
But how did Salim cross paths with Nelk and become a member of the crew? Well, we'll get into all that in just a minute. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Michael McCrudden back at it again with a brand new Before They Were Famous video, this time taking a look at the come up of Salim the Dream. Now, researching this video, there was absolutely no info on this dude. I mean, his old Facebook account, it's been purged. Throwback photos on Instagram, non-existent. There was just one sit-down interview with the Sync podcast. So with this in mind, we decided to reach out to Salim, and even though he's out in Abu Dhabi, well, he actually took the time to answer all our questions while simultaneously tricking Kyle into thinking he had COVID.
Celebrate! You guys know too?
Yeah.
You knew the whole time?
We're all negative.
Did you know?
Yeah.
Yes!
New Nelk videos, they've been a big hit on this channel. Check out our befores on Kyle, Jesse, Steve, and my personal fave, Bradley Martin, before he sold drugs. As always, be sure to let us know who's next in the comments down below. Now let's roll that intro. Hey, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell. Boom! Right out the gate, Salim. If I butcher any names here, which I likely will, I apologize ahead of time. Here we go. Fresh meat. Salim the Dream was born Salim Sirur on November 21st, 2001. Now, he was born in the city of San Jose, California, a city that has produced a handful of celebrities. I'm talking Screech from Saved by the Bell, Fleetwood Mac, Stone Temple Pilots, Snow the Product, and now Salim the Dream. Now, for all you auntie killers out there, well, his mother's name is Nurit Sahur, and his father's name is Seedin Sahur. I apologize if I got any of those. Parents are always watching their kids before they're famous, so I apologize. Now, when Salim was just a kid, well, his mom, she spent time working as a nurse, and his father, he worked in finance. But at this point in their lives, well, both of them, they're actually retired from the workforce.
So, like, our parents don't support us at all. Like, unless we're making money.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Now she knows I'm making money.
Right.
But those are parents that are, like, foreign. So it's like, I mean, if you guys
my parents, too, the same thing.
Exactly. So if you have foreign parents, they're going to want you to be a doctor or a
lawyer or
an engineer or something.
Now, Salim recalls being really close with his mom throughout his entire life, and his father taught him all there was to know about how to succeed. Now, besides his parents, well, Salim, he also grew up with two brothers, Abu Baka and Nabel, as well as one sister known as Anissa. I hope I'm saying those correctly. Now, as a California kid, well, Salim, unsurprisingly, he liked spending a lot of time outdoors. Now, he used to love playing basketball and soccer. In fact, he told us that one of his biggest influences was watching LeBron James play basketball. Now, LeBron has always impressed the young Salim with his ability to battle through adversity and never give up in the continuing strive towards greatness. Now, when Salim was 14 years old, well, his parents moved him and his siblings about 120 miles north from San Jose to Sacramento, California, which is the same birthplace as YouTubers Anthony Padilla and Ian Hexcock. I just added that in there because, you know, Sacramento ain't the coolest place, but you can still pop off from there, just saying. Once there, Salim, he attended a strangely named school known as Kasum's Oaks. I don't know. Now, according to him, his favorite class there, it was phys ed. Kasumines? Who the hell names a school that?
Bastards. Bastard-coated bastards with bastard filling.
They were like, it's weird. It was weird. I feel like if I went to high school where I was from, I think it would have been way better. But Sacramento, it was like it's nothing there.
Yeah.
That's like a place you go when you're done with life. Like,
is that in like Tallahassee?
To be honest with you guys, I've done enough of these bios that whenever someone tells me that their favorite class was gym, well, the odds are they didn't go on to go to university or college. And that's exactly what happened with Salim. Now, when we asked him about school, he told us school was boring and I would always skip class to go film. Blunt and to the point, I can respect it. In fact, I went to university and I can't pronounce Now, the kid had already figured out how to do something productive with his time, creating content for his Instagram account, which he was loading up with prank after prank. Now, Salim began filming his pranks during his junior year at high school. He dubbed himself Salim the Dream because ever since he was a kid, well, he was always dreaming big. And when people started calling him that, well, he just decided to roll with it. Now, heavily influenced by the very team he would one day join, Nelk Films, well, Salim the Dream grabbed the handle on IG and he got to work with his oldest videos on IG dating back to 2018. Now, from the very beginning, well, Salim, he was joined by his best friend, Jordan Nawan, or as he's probably better known, Cousin Jay, who would act as his cameraman.
Wow.
I look pretty good.
You look gorgeous, man.
Now, Salim found success so quickly that not only did he not have to bother with college, well, he's never even had to work any other job besides creating content. Now, with Salim having some online clout and his videos clocking in tons of views, well, it didn't take long for Kyle from Nelk to take notice and invite him over to the Cloud House.
It was Kyle that was hitting me up on the Nelk Boys page. I hit him back up, and he told me to come to the Cloud House when they were living there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At the Phase
The
Cloud
now
House.
Hype House. Yeah.
Yeah, the now Hype House. So I went over there and I was just like, wow. Like I came upstairs on the elevator, and he was like just the whole system was just like, what the hell? This is like another level. Because they had like editors on the long table on the upstairs, like where the balcony is. They just had a whole system, and I was like, dude, this is like,
it's like a business.
It's a business. Yeah. I didn't think it was though.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was. But the way they were getting views and just how they structure their videos in a way, like the titling, like it comes down to all that That's what I really admired too when I first came there.
Now by this point, Jay and Salim, they were living in their car, so joining the ranks of Nelk, well, it couldn't have come at a better time as they were able to move into the Nelk house to work and live. Now these days, Salim is continuing to create content for his Instagram account, having a bit of fun and clearly enjoying the perks of his newfound fame. His own YouTube channel is something that's in the works, but Salim is also joining in the fun working with Nelk as they mess around with Sasquatches and they get kicked out of Trump rallies.
Alright boys, so this woman's calling security. If you look behind me.
She thought you were Antifa.
Yeah, she thought I was Antifa.
You do look a little Antifa.
Yeah.
You're giving off Antifa vibes.
A little bit.
In terms of his future, well, Salim told us that he wants to get into stand-up comedy at some point, and he'll eventually create his own podcast as well. So all the best to him. As for what happens next, well, that's a story for another time. After all, this is before they're famous. For a very long time now, the man we know as Steiny has been somewhat of an enigma. Sure, he's appeared in a ton of Nelk content, including regular appearances on the Full Send podcast, but outside of his name, well, none of us knew all that much about him. I didn't even know his name for a while. Steiner? I was way off. Well, all that changed after the past few months, during which time Steiny's become more prevalent than ever. Not only has he found himself with a ton of exposure after having a 2-hour plus sit down with Bradley Martin on the Raw Talk podcast, he subsequently got into a beatdown with Jake Paul after an altercation went down at a Miami nightclub. And well, we got some behind the scenes footage that was sent to us by one of you guys. And apparently all this happened when he stopped working with Steve Will Do It. The kid was on the rise, so someone decided to take him down a notch. But what is Steiny's background? Where did he come from? And how did unrealistic expectations of living up to his father's accomplishments ultimately lead to him having a career on YouTube? Well, to find out all this and more, you gotta stay tuned to our latest episode of Before They're Famous. My name is Michael McCrudden. You already know that. Been doing this for decades. All right, let's go. Steiny was born Aaron Steinberg, and while the finer details of his youth, like his birthday, well, they haven't been released yet to the wider public. Now, he was born and raised in a Jewish household in the city of Denver, Colorado. In fact, his paternal grandmother, well, she was a survivor of the Holocaust who arrived in North America following World War II. There, she would meet her future husband and have her son, Steiny's father, who then worked his way up to becoming a big-time criminal defense attorney out in Denver. But when it comes to Steiny himself, well, it might surprise you to find out that from the earliest time he can remember, what he really wanted to be was a gangster rapper. For real.
Or heard by Pimp C pimping all over the world.
Of course.
That
one of the
music
greatest videos of all
video,
time.
music video was playing, and it's literally just dudes with like different chicks in every area code of the world.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Now, after that came an appreciation for Allen Iverson and basketball, which would lead to Steiny spending many an afternoon slam dunking his basketball into a mini hoop while listening to the music of Rick Ross. Now, needless to say, this type of behavior didn't exactly impress much of anyone, including Steiny's twin brother, who thought his bro, well, he was somewhat of a joke. Now, luckily, Steiny, well, he's always been outspoken and comfortable in his own skin, so he never let attitudes like that get to him. Now, during his school career, well, Steiny began taking acting classes in the 2nd grade, and by the time that he was 13 years old, well, he was going out to get some professional headshots done while flying to LA to audition for roles. He had one for Bad News Bears and Meet the Fockers. Now, the later of which he actually got a call back for, but the scene he would have ended up being in, well, it was removed from the film completely.
I was in the hospital bed, like just that's how they wanted me to do the audition. They had me read like 3 or 4 different styles.
Oh. And then what they said, we didn't want to use the scene anyway.
They just cut the scene. So it was like no one got it.
After trying out for 2 or 3 more auditions, well, Steiny, he was offered a role in a horror film. But the movie, it was so small, it didn't really make sense for him to accept it, considering he'd have to commute from Denver to LA. So, hey, he just kind of threw in the towel. Now, with as much of an effort as he was willing to put into his potential acting career, when it came to school, well, Steiny, he was what he refers to as a complete shithead. Teachers would fluctuate back and forth between laughing at his ridiculous antics and getting frustrated with his overall attitude. Now, despite not taking his education all that seriously, well, Steiny stuck with it long enough to get accepted into CU Boulder in the state of Colorado, and that's the very same school that his father once attended. In fact, it was originally Steiny's plan to become a lawyer himself, even though he had no actual interest in doing so. But he was looking to earn his father's respect, and because his dad was such a self-made success story, well, Steiny felt a lot of pressure to become just as accomplished, which only makes it, well, all the more impressive that he ultimately decided to follow a different path than the one he felt he had laid out in front of him. Now, when Steiny actually arrived in CU Boulder, he joined a frat house and he wound up partying a whole lot more than he did studying. Then during his junior year, while Steiny, he was invited to the home of one of his father's friends, where he met a group of guys playing poker at the back of the room. Noticing that the game was moving excruciatingly slow and already having had experience with card games from the time he was 12, well, Steiny invited himself into the game to act as the dealer, now looking to up the stakes and, well, get things moving a little bit more quickly. Now, he wound up earning himself enough money during that one game that he went out and bought himself a brand new iPhone the very next day. Now, shortly thereafter, well, he got a text from one of the players who invited him to return the very next week. Now, from that point forward, well, Steiny began networking with his fellow card players, and he created a group text and took over the terms of organizing these events. Now, soon after, he was putting the game on twice a week, and with more people showing up than ever before. And we're talking some big names too. Now, enough so that Steiny, well, he was able to organize his own little network of well-connected individuals.
And so I just met as many people as I could, and grew like my own little network, and became good friends with the right people.
Now, as much fun as Steiny was having with his new gig, well, his university career, it was suffering. Now, he'd be up all hours of the night running the poker game, and when it came time for school the next day, well, he generally bombed, especially if there was a test. Now, he never wound up dropping out, and he still earned himself a bachelor's degree in history, but at the same time, he also recognized that life as he was living it, well, it wasn't gonna last forever. So Steiny, he picked up a job in real estate while taking night classes to get into law school. But after CU rejected him from the very same law program his father once took, well, he actually felt like a failure, and this was the lowest point in his life. That's when he decided to move out to LA to see if he could turn any of the contacts that he had made during his days running poker into something different. Now, soon enough, one of those contacts put him in touch with Bob Menery, who was looking for a personal assistant to help him out with his podcast. So Steiny, he binge watched as many Ripper Magoo podcasts as he could to acquaint himself with Bob, and well, he didn't know who Bob was at the time. So I guess he did, when he had to study, he got her done.
I look at Bob and I'm like, okay, maybe his podcast is making money. Like, he had Shaq on there. He had a couple other notable names. I think he had David Spade on there.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, so he's plugged in the space. Like, I'm going to go meet him.
When he finally arrived in LA and showed up for his first meeting with Bob, well, Steiny, he was starstruck upon seeing who Bob was with. We're talking Kevin Connolly. Yeah, the star of one of his favorite television shows of all time. We're talking Entourage. Now, Steiny and Bob, they hit it off immediately, and soon enough, he found himself running Menery's day-to-day for the next year. Now, after moving to Arizona with Bob in the summer of 2020 and then flying to Abu Dhabi to attend a UFC event, well, they met up with the Nelk Boys, including Steiny's soon-to-be new boss. We're talking Steve Will Do It. Now, once they arrived, Bob had himself somewhat of a freak out due to the COVID restrictions, and almost immediately, well, he put himself on a plane right back home to the States. Now, Steiny, he elected to stay behind and participate in the UFC festivities while also hanging out with the Nelk Boys. Now, that's when he approached Steve and tested the waters in terms of potentially working for him. Now, while Steve had hesitations about poaching him from Bob, well, eventually Bob gave him his blessing, and Steiny, well, he was brought on to help Steve's girlfriend, Selena, with her OnlyFans account. What a gig. That's a guy you trust, right? I think so. Now, after filming a video with Bradley Martin in which Steve was challenged to drink 12 beers in a row, well, Steiny did his part by taking care of the disgusting aftermath. Now, I'm sure you can imagine exactly what kind of mess I'm talking about, and from that point forward, well, he became one of Steve's closest confidants, especially because he was also running that OnlyFans account, right? I don't know. Now, having proven himself to Steve, well, Steiny was allowed to have more creative input than ever before, and while he definitely learned a ton about business from Bob, he learned even more about YouTube from Steve. But after proving himself as someone who was capable of assisting in the creation of popular content, well, in more recent months, Steiny began focusing on hosting Nelk's Full Send podcast rather than being Steve's day-to-day gopher.
They started having me do the pod, and like they liked how I was doing on there.
Which you do good. You do a good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Me and Bob and Kyle had a really good dynamic, and I like really was into the guests, so I would study, and they were like, yo, we want you to do this full time. And I knew in the back of my head, like, I'm gonna have to make a decision between the podcast and Steve.
So Steiny left Steve, but he wasn't kicked out of Nelk, and he continues to serve as a regular co-host on the Full Send Pod. Now, in other far more dramatic news, well, he's also found himself in the headlines after getting into an altercation with Jake Paul, which went down at a Miami nightclub. Now, we actually have one of you guys who's a fan of the show, or they follow us on TikTok, and they sent us some behind-the-scenes footage that no one else seems to have. And this kind of really goes on to show that this little dramatic fight was actually, it was a joke. The two are boys. Now, as we're recording this video, well, the kid has jumped 100,000 followers on Instagram, and, well, he's the new talk of the town. I mean, Elon Musk is tweeting out that he is a genius, and I think that was in jest. But either way, it's a fucking compliment, a fantastic blessing, and, well, look, a new star is born, and kids are loving him, and good for him. Even his dad's probably like, you did it, son. I wonder what his twin's up to. You know what I mean? You're probably like, shit, that my brother pulled it off. Will Steiny continue to rise to the top of the YouTube ranks without Bob Menery, or Steve will do it aside? Will he become an even bigger part of the Nelk Collective in the weeks and months to come? Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. After all, this is before they're famous. My name is Michael McCradden. We drop a new video each and every week. Recent inserts include Bob Menery and an update on Steve will do it, because his YouTube channel's about as dead as before they were gone video. Where the hell is it? For real. Anyways, guys, be sure to check those out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Boom!